Climbing is a sport where you don't stop learning. I have been climbing for 10 years now, and these are the 10 most important things I have learned in that time that I think will help you climb harder and what I wish I had known when I started climbing.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is technique. It's really important when you're first starting climbing to focus on technique and deliberate practice. So when you climb a boulder for your warm-up, climb it and then think, okay, what could I have done better climbing this boulder? And then climb it again, but try and climb it perfectly. So I'm going to do it on this blue. I'll climb it once, and then I'll try and think what I could do better. Like whoa. There were a few mistakes I made, like I wasn't very precise with my feet. So what I'll do is do it again, but really focus on being very precise with my feet. And I didn't feel like I got my hips over my body enough, my body over my hips enough to also do that. So I'll do it again. Try and be a bit more precise, a bit more fluid. I was better, I was more precise, still made some mistakes, but focusing on deliberate practice when you make a mistake on even something easy is really good, because when you then go to climb harder things, you'll have that, I'm sorry, I'll breath, because when you go to climb harder things, you'll have that knowledge in your head of, okay, that wasn't right, and it's very hard to bring these techniques into practice on your projects when you haven't mastered them on easier boulders. And I think if I had practiced that when I'd started climbing, I'd be a lot better now. And just try and climb everything perfectly. Even hard boulders, like if you do it once, like fine, yes, I've done it, I never have to try it again. Sometimes it's a good idea to try it again and try and climb it better. Some of the drills you can use to practice this is like really quiet feet. So try and climb like a ninja is what my coaches always used to tell me. Climb without making any noise. So if I'm doing this, I know I'm probably not climbing it very well, like I'm being too aggressive with my feet, but if I climb it like this, there's still some noise, but it is, oh God, I'm falling off. It is better. Another good thing to practice on your warm-ups is trying to climb things without bending your arms, because it means you're climbing efficiently. If you're bending your arms, if you're always like this, you're gonna get really tired really quickly. Like I'm already tired now. But if you climb straight arms, it's just much easier. Okay, your arms may bend like a little bit, but it is easier. If you also want to steal things, this is a useful tip, because like if you're trying to steal the Mona Lisa's long lost cousin Beatrice, you want to be quiet, right? Another good thing to practice is being really critical of your climbing. So when you climb something, think like, how could I have done that better? What was bad? What was good? Don't be harsh to yourself. Don't be like, that was shit. Just be critical, be like, okay, this bit wasn't great, so what can I do better there? Maybe I need to go like 1 and then immediately 2. And if you do that on every climb, you'll notice that your technique is improving so much more. And also when you're actually projecting your harder boulders, you'll be able to be like, oh yeah, you'll be able to notice things, smaller things that you might not have noticed before that you're doing wrong, which will then help you get up those climbs too. Possibly one of the most valuable things that I think you could take away from this video is to climb with people that are better than you. People who've been climbing for a long time, they've done thousands of moves, thousands of hours practice, and they've built up this knowledge in their head of how to move through climbs. And these little details can make such a difference between not being able to do a boulder to getting to the top. So it could be as simple as like doing an inside flag, a little drop knee here, like dropping your hips an inch. These little things can often be the make or break of an actual boulder. People that are better than you might also push you to climb things that you might have thought are too hard for you. So often it's easy to get psyched out by a grade or a climb and like look at it and be like, man, that thing looks way too hard. I'm never going to be able to do that. I mean, I still do that now and I've been climbing for 10 years. But to climb with people that are better than you, then we're like, go on, try it. Like, why not? What's the worst thing that could happen? And then you might notice that like, oh, something that you thought was impossible is something you could actually do. The biggest way to hinder your improvements as a climber is by getting injured. So looking after your body is one of the most important things you can do to become a good climber. So it's really important to find a warm-up routine that works for you. Everyone's different, everybody's different. So just find something that you feel comfortable with that gets you warm and ready to climb. I often see lots of new climbers getting straight on their project without actually warming up. And this can be a pretty good way of getting injured. I know warming up is boring, and I don't like it too, but you'll find if you warm up properly, you'll also be able to avoid injury and actually climb harder in the session as well. This one's a bit of an extra tip, so we'll call it tip 4.1, if you will. Good dyno. Woo! Recently, I've been trying to work more on my nutrition, so I've cut out sugar. And I've been drinking AG1 for the last 3 months. Thank you, AG1, for sponsoring this video. From these changes, I've been feeling more energized than ever thanks to AG1's ingredients, which include 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, which are super important for foundational nutrition. I tend to drink AG1 before breakfast, and it's a really good, healthy way to start the day. And luckily for me, because I have a really sweet tooth, AG1 also helps reduce your cravings. And seeing as I've quit sugar, that has definitely come in handy. Never drunk it sitting on hold inside before. I wanted to see if you can do this V2 by doing a flip round. I'm wearing trainers, so, oh, actually it was much harder than I thought. But genuinely, from these changes, I feel healthier than ever. Flip round. Oh, okay, that was close. If you want to try AG1 out yourself, then they're offering you 5 free travel packs and a free year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 if you use my link here or in the description. Thanks AG1 for sponsoring this video, allowing me to continue to make climbing videos because I freaking love it. Another thing I feel like is often overlooked is resting. Rest days are incredibly important. They allow our body to recover, they allow us to recover mentally so we don't get burnt out from climbing. And we've all got other things going on in our lives, like work, family, relationships, everything else that takes our attention. And it also allows us to have incredibly high quality sessions rather than lots of quantity. And if you look at most of the best climbers in the world, they all focus on having high quality sessions, which helps them improve and get stronger. Trying things at or above your limit can be a bit demoralizing, trying each individual move, failing constantly, but I think it's one of the most important things that you can do as a climber to improve. It teaches you lots of like the smaller details of projecting, and if you keep trying something, eventually you will be able to do the moves and maybe even link it together. And I think it's very good mentally that you can look at something like, oh, that's impossible, it feels impossible, and eventually get there. It opens up your mind to, there's loads of other climbs that are harder than this or just as hard as this that are also possible to me if I put that work in. Every climber who's been climbing for a while has had that experience, including myself. Like my most recent project took like 2 or 3 seasons for me to do, and when I first started I couldn't do any of the moves, and eventually after like a lot of hard work I did it, and it was one of the most satisfying feelings of my life.
Come on. Come on. Come on, Josh. Whoa. Come on.
One thing I wish someone had told me when I first started climbing is that progress isn't linear. When I was a kid and started climbing, I wrote out every year what grade I wanted to climb. So I was like, I don't know, 7A, 7B, and it all went up to like 9B plus. And if that was true, if progress was linear, I would currently be one of the best climbers in the world. Obviously, I am not.
If you're sure.
Yeah!
Oh. I'm stuck.
Oh, I missed it.
Come on.
So I think it's very important to remember that some years it might not feel like you've actually improved, and maybe on paper you haven't climbed a harder grade, but that doesn't necessarily mean you haven't improved. You might be climbing, the warm-ups you might be climbing might be harder, or on your medium day it might be better than your best day last year, or your worst day climbing this year could actually be a middle normal day for you climbing last year. So even though it's sometimes hard to see the progress you're making, you are definitely making progress, even if it's not a new number or a new tick or something that on paper means you're improving. Sometimes you'll just climb things a bit faster than you would have last year, and that's fine. It's just important to stick with it and appreciate the little wins. Like maybe if you're having a bad day climbing, just think, well, I climbed this boulder, which was my warm-up, probably the best I've ever climbed it. And that is something that I've tried to incorporate into my own climbing. If I'm having a bad day, I was like, what is the win I can take away? Even sometimes when you're projecting something, you're like, I didn't send it. But maybe you climbed the crux I don't know, as efficiently or as fluidly as possible, or maybe you got like one hold higher. That sort of thing, those small wins are the things that will keep you psyched and also help you improve in the long run. Something that is good for general life is just to not care what other people think about you. And I think that is equally important for climbing. When you come into a new gym, it can be quite intimidating, lots of people who are incredibly strong, or you don't know what you're doing. But I think the important thing to remember is no one cares how hard you climb. I always used to struggle with this when I was younger. I'd walk into a gym and see all the really strong people and be like, oh my God, I don't want to climb in front of them, they're so much better than me. But then the more I've climbed and the more I'm in the climbing community, I realized that no one actually cares how hard you climb, whether you're the best climber in the world or someone who's just starting out. It just doesn't matter, just go have fun. The climbing community is a friendly place, and if someone's a knob to you and is like, oh, you know, judges you for how hard you climb, probably don't want to be friends with them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Climbing grades are incredibly subjective and they are different for every person. Everyone has their own strengths and their own weaknesses. You might be climbing with a friend who can do a certain move that you can't do, but then equally you might be able to do a move that they can't do. So I think the important thing is to just not worry about the grades. Make sure you build up a big base of grades below and up to your maximum. So then when you move on to the next grade, you've got all this experience behind you and confidence from doing lower grade climbs to then bring into higher grade climbs. And this also, if you do these in a variety of styles, this also gives you like a massive base of skills on slabs, overhangs, slopers, crimps, dynos, backwards dynos, bat hangs, double front flips. It gives you all these skills that you can then bring into climbing harder things. And you'll actually find, if you do this, you'll actually be able to send things at your max quicker because you've got it all locked in your head. This is something I didn't do and I really regret it, because now I went like, oh, I've climbed my first 7B, let's go straight to 7C, I'll climb one of each. And I kept doing that, and then I realized, I haven't got this experience behind me which would allow me to climb these grades quicker. So now at the moment I'm going back through those grades and trying to climb more of them so that I have that experience when I get on rock or if I climb inside. And the last thing, I think one of the most important things to remember is to have fun. I know it's simple, I know it's like, oh, well, obviously we climb to have fun, but it's also, I think, one of the easiest things to forget is that we started to climb because it's fun. So don't forget to, you know, still be a kid, still play around, have fun, climb with your friends, do weird ass moves, you know, jump, just enjoy. Ooh, enjoy moving on the climbing wall. And you know what? The more fun you have, uh-oh, the better you get.